The way I selected the poems that are in this anthology was pretty much the same way I've done it for my other anthologies, which is I always go back to the books that I grew up with and the books and the poems that were important either in my life or that were passed on to me by my grandmother or my mother. And then that sort of opens up, and there's so many different trees that expand from there. And so I have friends that sent me poems. I asked my friends if there was a poem that they particularly liked, and some of them had sent me poems over the years. Or my children contributed some poems, and then it's just a chance to read and discover, and each poet leads you to another one. So I think for me, I learned a tremendous amount about contemporary poetry doing this anthology, which was something that I hadn't really spent as much time reading before. So this was, for me, I learned a lot, which is always the best part of any project. Well, this one is focused on different times in life, and it goes from falling in love to breaking up and having children and getting married and growing old and growing up, which are sometimes the same and sometimes different, and being alone and sort of enjoying being alone, and also the sadness that comes with losing people. So I think that there's really a sense of a lifespan in this one, a lifespan of my own, but also that I've watched people, as I've been growing up, what stages women go through. So I think it was a way of really marking those moments. Well, I was lucky because both my parents loved to read and had a love of words and really believed that words could change the world, could change your life. And so I really grew up believing that. And I always enjoyed reading. I used to read to my stuffed animals when I was little. And I think my mother knew a lot of poetry when she was growing up. It was something that people memorized in school. And so you had a little anthology of your own with you all the time. And I think for me, she encouraged us to do that, in that we were encouraged to give her a poem, to choose a poem for holidays or birthdays or Mother's Day, and memorize it or copy it over and decorate it. And I think that's a wonderful way to encourage kids to explore poetry or reading on their own, because anything that we chose was great. It didn't matter what it was, as long as we chose it. So I think that I got into that habit of looking at poems for big occasions. And so when I turned 50, of course everybody talks to you about, oh my gosh, this is such a big one, this is the big one. And of course it's not once it's over, but leading up to it, there's lots of preparation and thought. And so I think poetry is a good way of getting ready. I've encouraged my own children to give us poems also. Kids always want to ask the parents, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for your birthday? And they don't like it when you say, oh, I want something that you've made, because they really want to go shopping, and hopefully you'll buy them something while you're at it. But I think my children have grown up being exposed to words and reading, and they've gotten into the habit of choosing poems for us for Christmas or for birthdays or holidays. And so it's something that I think they've come to enjoy, or at least humor us with the same activity that I grew up with. Many people think that poetry is isolated and solitary, and that poets are isolated and solitary. And really, I think that poetry is a conversation, and so it's just like talking to a friend or having a friend talk to us. And I think that's the part of poetry that sometimes people miss. It's a wonderful way of sharing emotions or reflecting on moments. It's like you never really feel alone if you can have a conversation with someone who's been through the same thing that you've been through. So I think often we feel alone at various difficult times in our lives, and I think if you read poems about people who have struggled with the same emotions or felt the same thing, you realize that these are common challenges and universal experiences, and reading poems can sometimes give you a kind of a new take on it, or make you realize that you're going to get through it just like they did, or gives you the same kind of sense that other people enjoy something the same as you do. So it's really a wonderful way, I think, of connecting with people and being able to share things across time, not just with people who are in the same room as you. I mean, there's poems that are written hundreds of years ago that seem like they're happening right now. I hope readers will take away from this book the sense that women are awesome and fantastic, and that life just keeps getting better and more varied and rich, even when it's difficult. And I think it's hopefully a book not just for women, but for the men in their lives as well, who appreciate how awesome they are. But I think for women, it's really a chance to realize that, even the ordinary moments can be extraordinary. And I think by looking closely at those, it gives you a greater sense of how to enjoy your life.